Well, we're going to get started. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Marla Hamilton, and I welcome you to PiDC's Business Builder Workshop Series. And on today, we are continuing with our partnership with the Small Business Administration Eastern Pennsylvania District Office. And we are trying to do our best in making sure that the information that you get is straight from the horse's mouth. And we always encourage you to make sure that the information that you get is coming from a very credible source. And so with so much activity, whether it's loans for businesses during disaster times, or it is financing during standard economic times, whether it's assistance in back office or business support, the SBA, the Small Business Administration, is always one of your trusted sources for information. So it's always a pleasure for PiDC to be able to partner with the SBA. Today is the first of a three-part series that we are hosting with the Small Business Administration. Today, we're going to talk about hub zones. And then on next Tuesday, so for the next 3 consecutive Tuesdays, we will talk about a different topic within the Small Business Administration. So today, part 1 is hub zones, and you'll learn today everything there is to know about hub zones. You may have heard of hub zones, but don't quite know how they work and how they relate to you and your business. You are in the right place today because there is a strong economic advantage to your business when you are dealing with hub zones and contracts with the federal government. So you will hear about all of that today. And then we want you to take advantage of making sure that you understand hub zones. If you're located in a hub zone, if you're not located in a hub zone where you might be able to open an office, but you'll hear more about that. So this is part 1 of our 3-part series. Part 2 is going to be this same time on next Tuesday, and we're going to talk about contracting with the federal government. It is oftentimes people think when there are efforts to get you engaged in contracting that it is just as easy as showing up and saying, this is what I want to do, show me the paperwork, give me the contract. Well, there are processes, and we know that working with the federal government is an outstanding opportunity for small businesses, and the federal government takes special care in making sure that those opportunities are plenteous and significant for businesses of so many different industries, because the federal government kind of buys a lot of stuff, but it's a process. And so on next Tuesday at the same time, we're going to walk you through government contracting. And our presenter today is going to be the same presenter on next week. And then wrapping up our 3-part series, we're going to talk about bonding through the SBA. So many construction companies need bonding as insurance on the projects that they are building. And challenges may arise for companies that may not have enough experience. They may not have sufficient financing to put at ease a surety company. That is when the federal government will step in to provide a level of assurance to those sureties so that the contractor gets the bonding it needs to successfully perform, win the job, and perform. So for the next 3 Tuesdays, we want to see you right here at 2:30. We open the webinars at 2:15 for your convenience. So you can log in, get yourself settled, and then we start promptly at 2:30 for 1 hour. So on today, Jen Tilden, Esquire, she and I have had the great opportunity to work together for several years. So you are in good hands today with Jen Tilden, who's going to talk to you about hub zones. Jen and I started talking about this several years ago, and we recognize that it is a program, particularly in Philadelphia area, that is underutilized compared to other parts of the country. And so we want to make sure that businesses in this area, in Philadelphia and the Philadelphia region, understand the HUBZone program, are taking advantage of it, and start to see their revenue increase in their businesses. And so Jen is a lead business contracting officer within the Small Business Administration, and she is going to share with you all things HUBZone. And Jen, what I was saying to our team earlier today is because we had a few glitches as we were advertising today's program, we're going to work with you, Jen, to repeat this session so we make sure we are reaching as broad of an audience as possible. Because again, as you've shared with me, this is a phenomenal program, the HUBZone program, and Philadelphia is one of those areas that is not seeing as much activity in the hub zones as in other jurisdictions around the country. So again, this is an opportunity to increase your contracting, increase your revenue, and we want to make sure everyone knows all about it and is taking advantage of it. So we're going to talk about hub zones today. We're going to talk next week about federal contracting, and Jen's going to come back and share with us. And then on week 3, we're going to talk about surety bonding. So with that, Jen Tilden, my friend from the SBA, take it away. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Marla. Hello, everyone. My name is Jen Tilden. Currently, due to understaffing, I am the head of government contracting for Eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware, which basically means for you guys, if it is State College or East, if it is New Jersey or if it's Delaware, you can always come to me. If it is outside Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or Delaware, you can always come to me as well. And if I'm not the person, I can help find you the person. I work at the federal level, so I can help you talk to people like the Army, the Navy, Health and Human Services, the Smithsonian, someone like that. If you want to do business with, say, the city of Philadelphia or with the state of Pennsylvania, I'm not actually the one who does contracts with them, but I have contacts in those offices. So if you don't have a contact, if you don't feel comfortable just cold calling an office like that, you can always feel free at any time to give me a call and say, hey, Jen, I saw you on Marla's webinar. I wanted to talk to Philly. I wanted to talk to Allentown. I wanted to talk to Camden. I don't have contact over there. I don't want to cold call. Can you give me an introduction over there? I'm always happy to do that as well. Just because I can't give you a contract over there, I may be able to introduce you to people that can get you set up in another area. So I just wanted to put that in. All my contact information is at the end of the presentation. Everyone's also welcome to look for me on LinkedIn. This deck and will be available through Marla and will also be up on my LinkedIn for everyone. So we are going to start out here. We're over here. And so the HUBZone is everyone seeing this correctly? Marla, are you seeing this correctly?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, I wanted to make sure because one time it turned out that everyone was seeing the wrong screen. It was horrendously embarrassing. Okay, this one is called the HUBZone Program, the one that no one understands. The HUBZone Program, as Marla mentioned, is an incredible opportunity particularly around the Philly and Camden and Reading and Chester and a lot of the other local areas, because it encompasses a lot of the inner city under-revenued areas, but no one knows about this program. So no one knows to sign up, even if they're already compliant. So no one gets the opportunity to take advantage of a program that in a lot of cases might lend them a huge opportunity to get contracts. So today we're going to talk about what the program is, whether or not you qualify, and what we've done recently to change it to make it easier for you guys. It's going to look like I have a lot of slides. It turns out a lot of them are really boring legal stuff that's kind of a takeaway that you guys can have to look back at later, but it's not really stuff we're going to need to look at too carefully today. It's mostly stuff I want you to have to look at later if it comes back that you need to know. So what's really the point of the HUBZone program? The HUBZone program originally came up in 1997. It was originally introduced by Senator Kit Bond, and his main idea was you can pour money forever into a place like, I'm going to pick on Trenton because they're in New Jersey and this is Philly and everyone picks on New Jersey. You can pour money forever into a city like Trenton, but if you don't actually have development, if you don't actually give money into the community, and if you don't actually pour money into growth and job growth and into actually helping the community up, then nothing is going to change. So Bond's idea was, instead of dumping all this aid into a community, if you send contracts to the community, then companies are going to be companies are going to have a desire to put money into an inner city. They're going to want to hire talented labor from within an inner city, and they're going to be investing back into these same areas. So finally, those areas are actually going to get the income instead of just this money pouring in. So what is the basic idea behind the HUBZone program? Basically, what he was really hoping was, say a company down in Philly, and until recently, Northern Liberties was a HUBZone. Say a company down in Northern Liberties won a huge government contract. I'm going to say that they won a $240 million government contract. If that government contract came in to a small business in Northern Liberties, then that small business would suddenly be in a position, first of all, theoretically, to hire a lot more people that do whatever they do. Second of all, the staff that they have will have more fluid cash. So they'll start going to places like Pat's, or they'll start going to the theater. They'll go to the Mashulu. They'll be going downtown and hitting Dave & Buster's. They'll be going into town late at night to see something at the Walnut Street Theater. The money is going to go back into the community because suddenly these people who didn't have money will start to have disposable income. And that money is going to go back into Philly. And as the money goes back into Philly, and some of it's going to be big money at places like Mashulu and Walnut Street Theater and stuff like that. But most of the money is going to be things like the janitor buying more coffee down the street, or it's going to be the secretary that has more cash. So she's spending more money at the mom and pop shop down the way. So suddenly that actual community is seeing somebody that can afford to buy coffee 5 days a week instead of 4. Somebody that can afford to buy more groceries at the local shop. And that entire community sees the community come up because of that revenue that comes in. And as the community comes up because of the revenue, there's that generalized boost that starts to bring them out of, we all know that as that general community comes up, you start to see things like some of the homes may start to come back and things like that. And the idea is that the ripple will spread out through that community. More businesses will be attracted, more contracts will come, more people will be hired, and it spreads out through the whole area, starting with the one contract. That was the beautiful idea that Kit Bond had when he originally spun the tale that was the HUBZone program. What you have to realize, and what Marla mentioned, and what we'll be talking about next week, is within everything that the federal government buys, every single agency has goals that they have to meet. Every agency, as they buy whatever they buy, whether they buy battleships, whether they buy bugs, whether they buy births, whether they buy beans, they have to buy these numbers. 23% of their beans or bullets or babies have to be purchased from small businesses. 5% has to go to woman-owned small business. These numbers are below from the 23%. 5% has to be from 8A or small disadvantaged business, 3% from service disabled vets, and 3% from HUBZone. We'll go into all of this a lot more next week, but for our purposes today, we are looking at the 3% of the federal budget that has to go to HUBZone. The reason that we are looking at the 3% that has to go to HUBZone was originally when I went for the cheesy friends joke that I didn't write, somebody in headquarters wrote, and I apologize for. No one ever hits the HUBZone goal. It says here that all agencies have to give 3% of their budget to HUBZone companies. No one ever does. And it's not that they sit around like Snidely Whiplash and put their mustache between their fingers and go, no, I hate the HUBZones. They're almost impossible to find because, like I said, no one understands the program, so no one signs up. And if no one signs up, then you can't give them contracts. So there is a lot of money left on the table. Since this is by statute, the money is out there. It's not some vague thing like that weird guy with the dollar signs over his jacket used to yell about at midnight. This is real money that is actually set aside by statute that has to go to HUBZone businesses. The real money, I pulled the numbers this morning. FY22 numbers are just starting to come out because our fiscal year actually ends on September 30th, and we just started a new one on October 1st. The DoD takes a long time to get their numbers in because of national security and a bunch of things like that. But currently, FY22 HUBZone federal contracts, there were only 2,626 contracts nationwide for HUBZone with an approximate value of $103 million. That sounds like a lot to a lot of people, but you have to take this in a frame of reference where you realize that to date, the federal government has spent $3.4 trillion in response to COVID-19. So 103 million is nothing. And 2,000 something contracts is astoundingly low, particularly nationwide. Even more embarrassingly, and this is exactly what Marla was talking about, in Pennsylvania last year, we had 41 HUBZone contracts in the state of Pennsylvania this year for less than $2 million total. Huge portions of Philadelphia, Reading, Pittsburgh, Lancaster, Chester, all these cities are hub zones and folks aren't signing up. So less than $2 million got taken from the table of millions and millions of dollars that are set by statute. So how do you get your hands on this money? This money is set aside through the HUBZone federal contracting mechanism, which goes one of three ways. First, through set-asides, which are when a contracting officer says, hey, I got a contract to my desk. The Smithsonian Institution wants to go out today and buy an entire box of, oh, I don't know, beetles. And how am I going to go about buying these beetles? I've decided that I'm only going to buy beetles from a HUBZone company. That is called a set-aside. If you only decide that you are going to buy something from one type of company, that is a set-aside. A sole source award would be if you realize that there was only one company that could sell you the beetles. I guess they're incredibly amazing beetles. The one fascinating beetle, it's a scarab like you see in Dwayne Johnson movies. If only one business in the world has the beetle you need, and it's a HUBZone business, then you can write a contract to that one business saying we need that beetle. And that's called a sole source award. The exciting thing for you guys, and one of the main reasons you might want to look into HUBZone, and the one that people don't understand, is this price evaluation preference thing at the bottom. And this is one of the big things you guys get by attending the class, because this is a great one that people don't understand and that you might be able to show people, even contracting officers, because contracting officers haven't always seen this. Price evaluation preference is if you are a HUBZone certified company and you bid, and it is a price evaluation preference contract, and you bid against a large business, and I'm making a huge point of saying the word large because that's a vital word. If you bid against a large business and they are, even if they win, within the price evaluation preference, you still win. This is, I apologize for the way I'm saying this, but it is extremely confusing. You see an example here. What it basically comes down to is price evaluation preference. And in any solicitation, in the document that you see on System for Award Management, that is how we buy anything in the federal government, you will see something like price evaluation preference 10%. You can change the price evaluation preference, and that's why I'm saying 10%. A contracting officer could change it and make it higher or lower. So always check. It could be something different. And if it's something different, obviously that different number would apply. That's why the star's there, but we'll work with 10. You as a HUBZone come in at $100 in this case. A small business bids against you at 97. The large business bids at 95. In that case, you're going to lose, clearly, because you have the highest price. With the price evaluation preference on the other side, the numbers will change. I am terrible at this, and I apologize because math is not my thing. If you have questions about math, you can call me and I have someone on my staff that will do the math. But basically what it comes down to is this evens the playing field between you and a large business. If you are less than the 10% off, then you will win between you and a large business. However, and the reason I keep saying large over and over again in that obnoxious way is if, however, it is between you as a HUBZone business and a small business, price evaluation preference does not apply against the small business and you will not win. So this is something cool that will apply if you're ever in a price war, quote unquote, with a other than small business. Say if you ever found yourself in a price off, if you are a reseller of, say, Dell products, or you have for some reason to bid against the original equipment manufacturer, PEP could work. Or if for some reason you are bidding against a large business and the price is really close, if you're a HUBZone, it could really help. So this is one thing that you get from HUBZone. One of the things that people really hate about the HUBZone program is they feel that it moves too much and that it's difficult to figure out and it's difficult to sign up. Where are HUBZones? HUBZones are all over the United States and its territories. We determine what a HUBZone is by a combination of the unemployment, income, and sometimes a HUBZone can be created by an event. And there are a couple of different types of events. First type of HUBZone is a qualified census tract. That is what you're going to see down Philly and in any major city. A qualified census tracts. Census tracts are these bizarre things that are created by the Census Bureau. They have nothing to do with anything logical. They have nothing to do with blocks. They have nothing to do with counties. They have nothing to do with neighborhoods. There are these completely random designations that if that census tract is below the income level, then that is a HUBZone. If you get way out to the other side of the state where it's all like wolves and cows and groundhogs and stuff, out there, they do it by county. And if you have a whole county that's poor, or like up north here, if you get past the Poconos into places like Sullivan County, pretty much the entire county is poor. So that entire non-metropolitan county is a HUBZone. Difficult development areas are a HUBZone. What is a difficult development area? You see my friend the SNEC down in the corner? The SNEC is there because Guam is a difficult development area. You can't develop Guam. No one wants to develop Guam because A, it's in the middle of nowhere, and B, Guam is covered with giant SNECs. They can't seem to get rid of this certain type of tree SNEC, and they keep doing things like dropping aspirin-covered mice, trying to get rid of the tree SNECs in Guam. They're overrunning Guam because of the SNECs and the fact that Guam is in the middle of nowhere. Guam is considered a difficult development area. When you consider Guam being in the middle of nowhere and covered in snakes, it gives you an idea of what a difficult development area is. These are crazy things like islands off the coast of Alaska and Guam and weird outer holdings that we still have near the Bikini Atoll and stuff like that. Reason designated areas, when we move hub zones, you get a couple of years to make some choices. Indian land is a hub zone. BRAC land is a hub zone for those of you that speak DoD. Qualified disaster areas are a hub zone. I said that events can create a hub zone. I'm going to go ahead and pick on Jersey again because it's a really easy, obvious one. We all remember Hurricane Sandy, Superstorm Sandy a few years ago. Most notably Point Pleasant Beach, which ended up having a lovely combined water slide Ferris wheel when their Ferris wheel ended up in the Atlantic Ocean. Under the new rules, qualified disaster area would have been Point Pleasant, New Jersey. And now we are going to have something called government or designated areas. Those really won't apply a huge amount, but we'll talk about those for a second in a moment. How do you figure out if you're in a hub zone? This is a static slide in the deck that was given out in advance. Today, we are going to, in fact, do this live. So I would love to have someone please give me their address who is interested and is down Philly and thinks that they may fall into a historically underutilized business zone. This is an area of high unemployment and low revenue. I will tell you, PiDC misses by a couple of blocks, and the Community College of Philadelphia down near Byberry is within a hub zone. But if anyone is interested and curious whether or not they fall in a hub zone, I am happy to check it right now. Can you guys see the hub zone map right now?
And we have someone who put in 19134.
Okay, I can check 19134, but specifically, I can check an actual street address.
Oh,
If someone has a business address, I can look up your very, very own. 2929 Arch. Okay, got it. Thank you. And you'll see it automatically starts suggesting where it thinks that you're going to go. There, all I had to do was Arch, and it automatically knows we're talking down Philly. And boom, congratulations to whomever. And there we go. You are in a qualified hub zone. So we already have one. Okay, we have a couple of things. Wow, that's really cool. I've never actually seen the Asian characters before. This is awesome. Okay.
hey, Jen, can you look up this other address? The 2609 East Tioga Street.
2609 Tioga? Sure.
2609 East Tioga Street.
There we go. It will usually start filling it out remarkably quickly. And if we click once again, boom, we have another hub zone. It is that easy. If you start typing it in, we have a North 54th here. 1674, North 54th. Another hub zone. So I'm going to send you guys all have this website. It's in the slide deck. It's also in the slide deck. I'm going to have it on my LinkedIn. Literally, all you have to do is what you just saw me do. You start to type in your address. It usually will start even auto-populate like you saw me do. You hit click, boom. it'll automatically come up like this. I am going to, just for an example, I am going to show 301. This is my office. We're located out in King of Prussia, although we haven't been there in a while. This is what bad news looks like. We got very lucky in the fact that everyone that said their company, you happen to all be in a hub zone. I happen to know off the top of my head, my office is not. So my office, which is not in a hub zone, this is bad news. You see bad news comes up as a weird kind of bland gray, and it will say outright, not qualified. So it's really easy to see yes or no. Occasionally, if you find something crazy, like if the line, and I'm not kidding, it happens, if the line is like right here and you're here, and this is a hub zone and you're right here and the line's right here, call me. I can't always do something, but sometimes it turns out it's a GPS thing. Sometimes we can call a senator. But if you're really close to the line, give me a call. But it's as easy as dropping the information in there and checking that box and saying qualified or not qualified. So, hopping back over here. I had mentioned there's also something now called governor designated covered areas. These don't hugely affect most people because they have to come out of, say, Governor Wolf's office. But this is basically if there's a crazy spike in unemployment in a particular area outside of a city, the governor can create a hub zone. One of the problems people have had with HUBZone in the past is they've finally figured out the program. They've finally gone through the whole problem of getting set up as a HUBZone business. And then sometimes HUBZones move. And that kind of makes sense if you think about it, because sometimes hipsters come in and change a neighborhood. You get gentrification. Sometimes neighborhoods get better. Sometimes neighborhoods get worse. Things like BRAC. I had mentioned BRAC for the DoD folks. Base, realignment, and closure. Probably the biggest one that we know around here is folks that remember Fort Monmouth over in New Jersey. Fort Monmouth got BRAC'd down to Aberdeen, Maryland. When they BRAC'd Monmouth and they closed it, that area became a hub zone. When you close a military base, you really take a huge amount of the fiscal health of that entire area out, because even beyond removing the base, you take out all the soldiers or sailors or airmen or whichever service it's supporting. Those men and women in uniform go out drinking. I'm speaking from experience here living on Aberdeen. Go out drinking on a Friday night and go off post to buy food that isn't in the DFAC and buy clothes. And we do everything in the world that we can off post. And we contribute greatly to the local economy. And folks that don't live on post contribute to the tax base and everything else. So you pull a base out, you can destroy the economy of the community. So that creates a BRAC hub zone. If you create a hub zone for something like Katrina or Sandy, once the community gets back on their feet, that hub zone goes away. So as hub zones move around, people got frustrated because they had made changes for a hub zone advantage. So we changed some rules. Now, hub zones are frozen through 2021. Well, obviously, we're almost through 2021. They used to be updated every 3, they're now updated every 5 years. As things are moved, you'll see redesignated areas. You've got to worry on 3 years. However, here's the big one that's changed. If you buy a building, and we used to get tons of questions because people were like, hey, I want to take advantage of this program because, like I said, it is in the law. They have to give contracts to folks in these hub zones. You folks are like, what if I buy a building and they move the hub zone? If you buy or enter a long-term lease, you get hub zone for 10 years, even if they move the hub zone. So there is some stability now. You don't have to worry that you could enter into a lease thinking today, hey, Jen checked me while we were live online and it said hub zone. So I went out and signed a lease, and then 2 years later, it said no hub zone, and I, in good faith, did this. You don't have to worry about that anymore. We've now accounted for that, and you're covered for 10 years. Even if tomorrow morning they change that hub zone, you're still covered for 10 years. So we're trying to account for that to make sure that no one's hurt. And now we're trying to make sure and double check when opportunity zones cover hub zones. You can always give me a call about those. We also have some Philly zones that cover hub zones. Like I said, I'm not Philly, but I have friends down Philly, and Marla obviously has friends in Philly, so we can help get you in touch with the correct people in the city of Philly, because a lot of these same areas overlap. So if you qualify for some of the programs in Philly, you very well may qualify for our programs as well. MBE is something called SDB on my side, opportunity zones, hub zones. A lot of them are similar, they just have different names. How do you know? So some of you know now that, okay, you're in a hub zone. How do you know if you qualify? You have to be small. I'm the Small Business Administration. Obviously, that makes sense. How do you know if you're small? If you are on this call and do not know that you are other than small, then you're small. It's pretty easy to say. You have to be owned by US citizens, unfortunately. So I'm sorry if there's anyone out there that is a non-citizen ownership. Talk to me, we can talk about other possibilities for you, but this is going to be owned by a US citizen or citizens or one of these groups. These are the 2 important parts. Your main office has to be in that hub zone. That's exactly what we just did, where we typed in your address and found out if you're good or bad. And 35% of your employees have to live in a hub zone. 35%. What does employee mean? Employee means 40 hours a month, full or part-time. Volunteers are not employees. Interns are not employees. You can do anything you want to an intern. I've been an intern most of my life. You can abuse all the interns you want. 1099s might be an employee if you use them to figure out if they're an employee for size standards. If you don't know what that means, then don't worry about it, you're fine. I said on the last slide, A. It doesn't say that. The A is really important here, the same way that I kept saying large when we did the price evaluation preference. 35% of your employees have to live in a hub zone. It doesn't have to be the same one where your office is. So say your office is in a hub zone on, not to pick on somebody, Tioga, all of their employees could live in Camden. Pretty much all of Camden except the waterfront is a hub zone. So all of that young lady or young gentleman's employees could live in Camden. He or she is fine because they live in a hub zone. It doesn't have to be the same one where your office is. Next question I usually get is, I'm the sole proprietor. Well, then 100% of the employees have to live in a hub zone. Once again, you don't have to live in the hub zone where your office is located, but you have to live in a hub zone. Next question usually is, what if I have a home office? I have never in my life discriminated against a home office unless they were claiming to be running a multi-million-dollar company out of it. I'm absolutely fine with your home office. If you have a home office, it better be in a hub zone. And 35% of your employees have to live in a hub zone, whether or not it's that one. If you are a sole proprietor and working out of your home and it's in a hub zone, bing, bang, boom. Obviously, you're at 100% compliance. It's a really easy way to get it. It can be great. So it can be a wonderfully easy way, particularly if you have a small number of employees that you know live near you. You might want to check this one really quickly because it might be a fast way to be in compliance. If you're certified when you bid, you're going to be considered a hub zone all the way through the contract. So you don't have to worry about that. What's your certified? You're certified for 1 year. Yes, thank you. Apply through SBA.gov, HUBZone. It's free. Free. We're the government and nothing at the Small Business Administration costs us money. Please, please, please. Yeah, that comes up in a minute. Hold that thought. I promise I'm not the bad guy. I'm one of the 3-letter agencies that doesn't want your money. Eligibility requirements, annual recertification. You have to recertify every year. That's really essentially checking in on the website and just basically saying this is all still true. You have to go through the whole game every 3 years. If you actually win a contract, which I'll help you do, like the maybe 41 people that did last year, then you're going to have to update your information every year because, well, you won. Easy peasy. This is a new exciting one too. We realize, like I said, we're not the bad guys. We realize that sometimes, even when you try, people move, people quit. So particularly these days, people quit in the middle of a shift. So if you are doing a contract, or if you are trying to bid a contract and you are trying to maintain your eligibility and you're at least 20%, you're okay. It used to be that trying wasn't enough. Now trying is enough. If you really try, that is enough. This is an exciting new development post-COVID. How long does it take? 60 days from a complete application. This one's in red because I had to say complete because people send in like 3 documents and then they get 12 emails from the HUBZone crew saying, you forgot this, and they send that. And then they get an email saying, you forgot this, and they send that. And then the HUBZone crew starts crying and sends them another email and says, guys, seriously, send this. And then I get hate mail saying, hey, We sent in our application on April 4th, and it was like, yeah, you sent in your application with 2 pieces of paper. We didn't get a complete application until June 7th. When we say that you have a complete application, the clock starts running. 60 days after the complete application, that is, once again, by law. It cannot go over 60 days or we get in a whole lot of congressional trouble that you don't want to be in. So that's pretty cool. Remember when I said the complete application thing? We have a new pre-screening process now that is supposed to keep us out of that ridiculous, hey, yeah, well, give us this form. Yeah, well, give us the next form thing, which we're still playing in the 8A game, but hopefully it's going to stop happening here. Please, they put the FAQ up. There's actually a checklist up there. Please look at the checklist and put all the documents the first time. We're going to be moving it over to certify very soon. I don't have a date on that, but you can always hit me up. My information's on here to find out where to apply. How to apply? You have to be in SAM. That's something we're going to discuss next week. You get the documents that you need, which are discussed on the website, and you go to sba.gov HUBZone. Like I said, it's not an application until it is a complete application. This is what you need. Most of these documents are to prove that the people that you say live in a HUBZone live in a HUBZone. The second item you see there is DUNS number, just to give you guys a heads up. The federal government is moving away from DUNS numbers. I will talk about that more next week to give you a reason to come back next week. But it's going to be information about your company, basically showing where you are, and then some information about your people, showing where they are, so that we can line it up and make sure that you've met both halves. I mentioned a while ago that a lot of this has laws behind it, that people can't just go, no, I don't want to give money. I said that when I had Richie Rich and Irona throwing money around, I said there's literally money on the table that should be going to HUBZone businesses like some of you folks that isn't, because no one signs up. These are the laws I was talking about. It's literally on the books that money has to go to these firms, but no one signs up because no one knows they are one of these firms. Sharps. Who asked? No, 8A doesn't cost either. To Miss Shakira. Sharps. Meet my friend the shark. And it's bad when a lawyer is telling you about sharks. I want to please tell everyone here about sharks. Everything that the SBA does is free. I worked for Senator Specter. I worked for the United States Army. I worked for US Army Europe. I worked for the SBA. I have worked all over literally all over the entire world. I was offered a job with a United States military contractor at a really indecent amount of money when I came out of the Army. And I turned that down because I want to work with businesses like you guys. It is not an imposition to call me. It is literally my job. It does not cost money to call me. It is literally my job. You don't have to finance it. You don't have to figure anything out. There is no such thing as a stupid question. This is literally what I can do, what I do. You can always ring me up. If I don't know the answer, I will find someone who will. You guys saw me on camera. Marla was laughing. I have green hair. I am not this scary government person. I do a ton of stuff with Congressman Evans, with Senator Street, stuff like that. I try to be as approachable as possible. I try to translate things into actual English. I will sit down and explain it to you in real world, real English. Having said that, I want to give you a heads up. There are so many people out there who want to take your money for things that are or should be free. I went to Google. You could do this with any search engine. I'm not allowed to recommend a search engine because I'm the government. But if you look here, the first 3 companies that came up when I typed in HUBZone certification are all private entities that want you to pay them money to become HUBZone certified. It is the 4th entry that is actually the US government. Please be very careful, always check. If it is actually us, it is going to be .gov. Anytime that you are dealing with federal contracting and someone asks you for money, the correct answer is timeout defense, and then call Marla, call me. If you're affiliated with the WeBank or WOSB or a Chamber of Commerce or someone like that, call somebody and say, is this correct? Because you shouldn't have to pay. And that should be a business decision you're making. It is not an immediate issue. And if someone's asking you for money, it may not be in your best interest. I can't say it's unethical, but it may not be in your best interest to pay them. How much is it? I've heard 8A. I mean, people ask you to get them to pay you for 8A. I've heard 8A amounts up to $16,000 for help with 8A applications. HUBZone, I hear, is going for up to like 6,000, and you can do it by yourself for free. The only reason you would have to hire somebody to do this for you is if English is not your first language and you are not proficient in it. If you need help, like I said, there are always people that can help you for free. There are folks called PTACs. We'll talk about them next week, but they hang out at universities and they help you for free. Local district offices. I told you I run federal contracting around here for New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. My office is online at sba.gov/PA. We have small business development centers around here at Widener. We have Kutztown, and we're reopening Temple slowly. We have SCORE, we have women's business development centers. We have our amazing friends at PiDC. And I promised, here is all my info. We're actually still teleworking from COVID-19, partially because I am immunocompromised and my second in command is of age. I don't know how it is that you say that politically correctly. He's an old guy, but we are both working from home, but we can always be gotten by Teams or Zoom or phone or email or anything. And it is November, so it is coming up. And for anyone that's not coming back next week, happy Thanksgiving. And I made it. Woo! Ah.
Jen, you are amazing. You are amazing. So let me say a couple of things, just by a show of hands. How many people on this call knew about HUBZones? Put it in the chat. Because our objective today in bringing in Jen Tilden to talk about, Jen Tilden Esquire to talk about HUBZones is we want you to know about HUBZones. We want you to, most of Philadelphia is going to be in the HUBZones. So we want you to know about it. We want you to take advantage of federal contracting. You know, what's important to me is that small businesses realize there is a world outside of just doing business with the city of Philadelphia or the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. But there is tremendous opportunity with the federal government that could be here in this region that you're not taking advantage of. It could be in Delaware, which is just a little distance away. It could be in South Jersey. It could be in Central Jersey. It could be in Maryland. But the point is there is so much opportunity with the federal government, and we want you to take advantage of it, to help grow your business, stabilize your business, make more money. And Jen raised some really, really good points early on. The whole idea is if your company is located in a hub zone, you get the chance to hire people to contribute back into your community. And so the federal government is really concerned about that. She also mentioned SAM and DUNS. And for those of you who applied for some of the federal disaster funds, you heard those terms. You had to be registered through SAM. You had to have a DUNS number. And so she's going to talk about that in greater detail on next week. But just having that information available is what enabled people to more easily access some of those emergency dollars that the federal government offered through this past year. So it is 3:30, we're right on time. I invite you to come back on the next 2 Tuesdays, 2:30 in the afternoon on next Tuesday. Jen is going to take a deep dive and talk about how to do business with the federal government, with federal contracting. And then on the following Tuesday at 2:30, which is part 3 of our series, we're going to talk about surety bonding through the SBA, and that's primarily for construction contractors. This is what I promised you though. Jen is always so available. Look, she put in the chat to email her. She put her email address, she put her LinkedIn address, but because we had some glitches with our website, we are going to work with Jen to get dates where we will repeat this 3-part series, Jen. And even if it's not 3 parts, we'll do 2 parts. We'll do the HUBZone again, and we'll do federal contracting again, because it is just that important that you understand what is available for you and that you start taking advantage of all of these opportunities. So Jen, you and I are going to connect again. We'll get some dates. And by the time we come back next Tuesday, we should have new dates set up where we will repeat this, and it may make sense for us to just do this, Jen, on a regular basis. Maybe we do it twice a year. Maybe we do it 3 times a year. But you and I have been trying to get this HUBZone webinar scheduled for several years. It's been several years.
George, yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
but this should be 10 million in Philly. I mean, the fact that we only have about 2 million in HUBZone contracts in Pennsylvania, we can get this up to $10 million in Philly alone, guys, easily. Give me a call. I'm telling you, we've got the companies, you've got the talent, we can get you the money. Good. I'm not kidding. Call me.
Great. So we're going to work hard together, all of you on this call with Jen, and we're going to make sure that you understand what this HUBZone program is all about and federal contract. And let me just say this, for those of you who apply for federal funding, emergency funding, you had to be very patient with the application process. So with the federal government, as it is with the emergency funding, if you're bidding on city work or Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, it's a lot of paperwork. But you just have to be patient in doing it. And once you kind of get the hang of it, then it becomes second nature for you, and you know how to get it done. So we encourage you, come back next week. You might want to look up on the website, try those addresses that Jen said. We're going to have all of this presentation available to you on our blog. So with that, it's 3:34. I don't want to delay anyone. Jen, thank you so much. At least you don't have to drive in the snow to get down here. We don't have to worry about bad weather and the Schuylkill Expressway, right? So
that was
thank
exciting.
you, Jen. We will see you again on next week. And thank you for everyone who attended. Diane, Jennifer, Michelle, Ralph, Shakira, Sheila, to the Witty Gritty team here at PiDC, my PiDC colleagues, thank you so much for all of your help. For Marcus, who's in the chat, keeping us all informed. We look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a great, great rest of the day. Today is election day. So if you, let me see, if you did not vote, get out and vote today. I voted early this morning. So vote. That's right, go vote. Everything, it's always, your vote always counts. It always counts. Doesn't matter who you vote for, just vote. Okay? Okay. I voted. Okay. Thank you, everyone. See you real soon. Take good care. Bye. Thank you, Marcus. Michelle Smith. Michelle says, I'm here working the polls. Good for you. Multitasking.
You are certainly welcome.
How's the turnout? It's usually light in these off years. So far, so good. So far, so good. Thank you. Thank you. Make sure we see you again. And remember to check our website and newsletter for everything that's coming up. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Marcus.